wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging the moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine. Living Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging in moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine in the Northwest wild.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Fish on Northwest, Dwayne England and Kelly Barnum. Two weeks in a row.
Back in the hot seat.
Huh?
Now I got to sit over there last time.
Yeah, now you're moved up to first chair, as we used to say, right?
Back up to first chair.
Well, Tommy decided to make a run for the beach, so look at who actually was available.
Me out of retirement.
Attaboy. Welcome back. Well, we're covering a lot of stuff that you enjoy talking about tonight. We got in-studio guest join us here in a little bit. Jason Phelps, friend to all, is back in studio with us again. We have a ton of things to cover with him. It's going to be great. For all you guys that are looking towards that September opener on your elk hunting and starting to get working up towards that, last week we covered quite a bit in the realm of archery and preparation, all that. Tonight we're going to dial it in with Jason, owner and creator of Phelps Game Calls, and we're not just going to talk about differences in calls and types of things, but some insightful stuff for the beginner. Yeah. Right. It's like how do you even enter into this realm of communicating with elk? Right. And then also later on, I want to really break it down. It's like what am I saying? What is he saying? Right. Kind of walk through that process or that progression of call, and can you call too much, or when's it appropriate to call, right, Barnum? And are you locating? Are you trying to just piss them off? Are you challenging them? There's a whole pecking order that you understand incredibly, right?
Yeah, it just ends up. I mean, it just takes time in the woods, right? And it just ends up coming natural. Like maybe Jason will be the same way. I have trouble explaining it to people because I don't know, it just comes.
Well, I hope he doesn't have a problem, because that's what we're going to ask him those questions, right? No.
Right. I just do what I do because it just comes.
Yeah. So, but it is experience definitely helps you out in that regard. So, if you're new to it, if you maybe last year was your first season or last couple seasons, you did not have a lot of success, you still don't really understand what it is you are attempting to do or doing, try to break that down with Jason later on. And we'll close out the show. We may touch a little bit on Willapa as that's starting to fire off, but we also probably walk through the progression of his season. The guy's a maniac. He will literally be gone for a month and just getting after it, state after state and hunt after hunt. It's impressive in the effort that goes into acquiring all those tags and what it takes to truly plan that out and how far ahead of time you have to be to get that done. So we got a lot of stuff to cover with Phelps, and I'm so glad he took time away from his. He's really not that busy, right?
No, not at all.
So
no. I mean,
he gets a little time here.
Time of year. I mean, before elk season's always a slow time
month before the opener.
Most people, they really think ahead and buy their calls like in April and May.
Absolutely.
I mean, guys like me. I mean, I didn't just message him before he came here and say, hey, grab
meet him out in the parking lot. Hey, what do you got? So we got that going on. Got a lot of things we're covering tonight. We're going to talk first time guest on the phone, Keith Robbins. Is world renowned for his mooching capabilities out there in Puget Sound. Gonna actually get him on the phone later on. He is a spot tail guide, salmon guide out of Puget Sound, and has been doing it for years with mooching for salmon, and is fly fishing for sea run cutties, and then he has a whole operation down in Florida as well. Great guy to talk to. Used to tie in with him from time to time back in the radio days, and always a good guest. So it was finally time to get him on here at Fish on Northwest. We'll also check in with Bill Monroe Jr. as Buoy 10 opener is tomorrow. The long-awaited Buoy 10 opener, 2 weeks later than normal. We didn't get that August 1st, so that first week of August this year we go into it. It actually opens up August 14th, which is tomorrow, and there are tons of people already down there waiting, anticipating for the opener. A lot of guides have been running in and out of there, but chasing salmon in the ocean, and of course bottom fish and crab and all that. Just trying to fill the time, keep folks in the seats and keep their boat on the water. And now tomorrow is that 2-week opportunity, Buoy 10, which we'll be heading down there Sunday. Going to give it 2 or 3 days down there and run the Raider around if I don't sell it on Saturday. We'll see how, see how that goes. Anyway,
in your drift boat.
yeah, I got a kicker motor for the drift boat, so who knows? Got that, but we got a whole host of things to cover. We're actually going to break it down again, Barnum, in the bait lab. Rigging. A lot of folks as of late have been asking me, hey, what's that weedless rig you run for Willowpaw?
Right.
And
it's
not
important because I was out there on Sunday and God, the Willowpaw is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, the grass, the eel grass, it can really get to you. This is a game changer. It also works well if you're fishing up more shallow, just on lead drop, lead off you. I don't want to say dropper because it's not really dropper. I fish lead right off of my slider in Puget Sound for coho in September. When you're fishing down 30, 40 feet and running bait on lead, I run a weed grabber out there too, and it's a game changer. It is, you're fishing and not fighting weeds constantly, so it's definitely applicable. You can even use it down Buoy 10 if you start getting a bunch of eelgrass and stuff that floats through there at times. On those slack tides, when you get those slack tides or those small tides, that stuff just kind of floats out there. It doesn't really get moving in the current, and you'll run into that stuff. So just a little trick that we've been using for years. A lot of folks have been asking about that again, so we're going to show that once again later on the Bait Lab. So before we get too far deep into it here, I want to remind everybody Fish on Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons Real Estate, located in Puyallup, Washington. Of course, all our buddies out there at Defiance Marine. Defiance Marine, the builders or manufacturers of the Defiance, Arima, and of course Allied series, which I have my sights set on that 21-foot hardtop Mustang. Just need to get the Raider into somebody else's hands. And that's coming soon. So drop the price on that, by the way, by $1,500, and the phone has been blowing up. So don't wait too long. You're going to miss out on a great opportunity to get a very fishy boat for those that are looking for that first-time boat or just to upgrade the current boat you have. The Raider is in great shape. 2015. Got about 100 in maybe 170, 180 hours now on the main motor, which after 5 years really isn't nothing. So the thing runs great. It is clean. Firemen, you keep stuff clean. It's just part of the nature, right? Shing would probably say a little anal in that regard. Don't want to go there. Okay, lots of stuff going on around the Pacific Northwest and beyond, and Puget Sound. Want to remind everybody, hey, Harbor Herring is on board as a contributor to our show. We like to support Patrick Gaffney in any event that we can. Buoy 10's firing off. He's got his product down there, Harbor Herring. Look for them at the various outlets. You're going to find Harbor Herring. And of course, they are now in Sportco and Outdoor Emporium. And you can find frozen, trade up, fresh Harbor Herring at Sportco and Outdoor Emporium. So give Patrick your business, and you'll be glad you did. He has a top quality product. Again, I want to welcome Barnum back into the studio, and later on joining us here for the majority of the show will be Jason Phelps. I want to remind everybody, hey, our buddy Loren Culp for governor, he did win the primary and is now stampeding towards the governor's mansion with a lot of support. If you care about the future of our outdoor recreational opportunity in the realm of hunting and fishing, of which he does both, very passionate about it, and he's got a lot to say in regards to forestry management and things that affect our ability to be in the woods and on the water and whatnot. We get it here at Fish Hunt Northwest. There's a host of problems in our state. I mean, a lot of them generated by current regime, and a lot of them ignored by current regime. And so do your due diligence. Take your time and do some research. Reach out to us if you need to. Look at our past history with Lauren sitting in this studio twice now, talking about his platform and covering a lot of the topics that people are truly concerned about. And I think you're going to get, your eyes are going to be open to the platform that he is standing on and where he wants to steer this state. So I want to give credit to him and his campaign team for getting him to where he's at. And hopefully a lot of you folks will support him in the future. Moving on, a few articles floating around out there we need to pay attention to. Whale watchers be warned. Barnum, the South Resident killer orca whales are in Puget Sound.
Right.
And actually, they're like in and around more than they have been in years previous.
What I read, yeah.
Which, to me that says, well, there's an abundance of feed. And the salmon have kind of stalled out up there in the straits, and they're kind of hunkering up there for a while. Well, you know, first of all, it just shows you the pecking order of the food chain. Right. Tremendous herring spawn this last spring, like record-breaking. Flyovers showed clouds and plumes of herring spawn, right? Now we have all those fry herring out there in that 1.5 to 2 inch size that the salmon are just full of in their gut. Right. The bait clouds in certain areas are just tremendous, and the salmon are just kind of holding up, eating at the Royal Fork, not really in a hurry to move south. And the orcas have been seen around for quite some time, and hopefully they're finding plenty of salmon to chew on, right? That being said, this is encouraging, and this is why we talk about this stuff. They have recognized in our 3 pods of orcas more pregnant females than they've noted in years. So the reminder of the 300 and 400 foot boundary that you need to afford them, and you know, it's tough to gauge. They say 400 feet behind or in front of, and 300 feet to either side. Well, if a whale turns, it's like, what am I supposed to just get off my troll and move? So just be that as it may, do the best you can, stay off of the orcas, give them room, because the boat noise and harassment stuff tends to lead towards a stillborn. So we want them to definitely be successful in their calving this year. That would be exciting if we saw a whole bunch of new young ones running around here in the near future. Along with that, we need to remind folks, of course you don't want me to, but they all, like Jason said at dinner, might already be gone. Right. Idaho this morning, 10 o'clock, they opened up for additional elk and deer tags, far more elk tags than deer tags. They had 465. These qualify as a non-resident tag. You're going to pay an out-of-state fee to get this thing, and you can either do it online, via the phone, or in person at one of their locations where they sell tags over the counter. These are all the ones that are bought up mostly by outfitters early on, right? Yep. They hold them, and so when they sell a bunch of their trips, they can have tags for their clients, and then there's always several hundred that they don't actually claim, so they go back on sale late in the game here. And what's interesting is just out of habit and year after year, you're like, oh, I'll get my Idaho tag at some point. I'm just so busy working. Yep. You had no idea they would sell out so fast.
Yeah, they sold out way quicker this year than normal, and I totally missed it. And then this came up today, and I went, yeah, I'm not going to get any of those. I'm not even going to sit
busy working. I'm on the phone. Yeah.
I mean, the elk tags, I'm sure, were sold out in seconds.
Yeah, they typically go pretty darn quick. Washington's tags go on sale. I saw the date here a little bit ago. When is that? The 18th. Yep. August 18th. Yep. These are the multi-season tags, I should say. The multi-season tags, both elk and deer. Now, there's not very many elk. There's only 115 surplus elk, and there's 2,723 surplus multi-season deer tags. And last year, you and I talked about this. Yeah. These are, as you mentioned earlier, these are all the folks who put in for multi-season. They get it, and then they don't spend the money to buy it.
Then they don't buy it.
So you put in your $6 for your application, you get awarded or you get selected, and then you go past the deadline, you don't purchase. There are over 2,700 people that did that. So guys like you and I who would put in for it and actually buy it, we don't get it. We have an opportunity now, and I can remind everybody, last year, the same thing happened. It happens every year.
Every year.
Last year, they went on sale. Elk went within 10 seconds, maybe 9, and deer, they were there. Right. And a week later, guess what? The deer tags were still there. And a month later,
counting on that.
I'm thinking, with the way things are going, and the fact you can't find any gear in the realm of fishing or hunting, and you can't, it's just license sales are through the roof in all facets. I would venture to guess that even though there's 2,700 plus multi-season deer tags available, they're probably going to go relatively quick this year. Right. I'm going to be fishing booty 10, so I don't know if I'm going to get on the phone at 10 o'clock or not, but I'm going to give it a go. I sure would like to have the archery opportunity along with modern season. So that tends to work out pretty well if you take advantage. And last year we actually covered in pretty good detail how many days it affords you.
Yeah, it was a lot. I don't remember, but it was a lot. 60-some? Or
no, 100-something. Yeah. Yeah, you're well over 3 months of opportunity with a multi-season tag if you weigh it out right and you're bouncing back and forth between west side, east side opportunity, right? You basically almost have a third of the year that you get to hunt deer with a multi-season tag. It is well worth it. So that happens August 18th, 10 a.m. via phone, computer, or standing at a counter somewhere. The elk will go extremely quick. There's only 115. So that is coming up. Hey, this just in, basically blew up today. So I was glad I caught the story. Seattle Times put it out there. Approval to kill up to 840 sea lions. It should be authorized or approved tomorrow by NOAA.
That is great.
So 840. Now, in the scheme of things, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, right? But here's the thing. 300 of those approved by NOAA in the feds are stellar sea lions, which have never been on the table.
Is there a location on these? Is this the Columbia River?
It's the Columbia River and tributaries. It's a swath of about 200 nautical miles.
Okay.
It's a huge area that basically, as you read the article, it accounts for the Columbia and tributaries going quite a ways up into the tributaries.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 200 miles of river travel. There is any sea lion anywhere in the kill zone at any time of the year.
Wow.
That they deem to, they're there for one reason. Right. They're eating fish.
Eating fish.
There's no more of this, well, we got to watch them for, 9 years, and then we got to transport them to somewhere else. Yeah. They've documented all that stuff time and time again. They realize they can move a sea lion away from its location where it's feeding. 3 days it can be back to its location. They'll go 100 miles in 3 days.
Right.
100 miles in 3 days because they're not eating. They're just swimming to get back to where they want to feed, right?
Where they fish.
Man-made barriers are the problem. Dams, areas where the fish get stopped up are the problems. We've created it. We've protected them with the Marine Mammal Protection Act since 1972. This has been a battle waged for quite some time. Over 22,000 people weighed in to say, do not kill the sea lions. This article says that only 200 people said kill sea lion. There's more than 200 people that fish in this state.
Right.
There are far more than 200 people that say kill sea lions, okay? The numbers may seem low, 840, but the reality is, if we go back to think about when they removed over a year and a half period on the Willamette Falls, they removed 33 sea lions, okay? They were consuming 25 to 30% of the run per year.
Right.
2018 they removed, when it all came out, it was 33. That by 2019, that was down to them consuming 7%.
Right.
And then by 2020, this last winter, it was down to them consuming 2%.
Wow.
So we had about a 23 to 24% decline. And we saw a huge jump from 840 steelhead that 1 year to the following year was over 3,300 or something like that. It was an astronomical jump. So in the big scheme of things, 840 doesn't sound like all that much. But if you're focused on the 20 or 25 or 30 in this estuary or this body of water or this tributary or at this dam, and there's 30 of them in there corralling around and eating fish, and you remove them all, it's going to have a big impact.
Right.
Because not all of them out there are, complete problems. But
if you focus on like the trouble areas, like you're saying, I mean, I'm sure sea lions, especially the male sea lions, have a hierarchy and are territorial.
Sure.
So of course, if they have a great fishing ground,
chase the other ones out.
They're going to chase the other ones out. So I mean, it makes sense to focus on those areas where that sea lion is very effective with his fishing, and manage him. Yeah,
and the other side of this, I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe I read that it's a 5-year plan.
Right.
So again, it doesn't sound like a lot of them over the course of 5 years.
Better than none.
It's better than zero. And it's, they're dipping their toe in that pond, and if by chance they see positive effects on this and they realize that when they remove those, other ones move in, they'll probably keep going back to the feds to say, hey, this is an ongoing policing removal strategy that we need to continue to do as we watch our fish numbers increase.
And I think it's important to remember, too, that one of the lawmakers who had a big part of this sea lion push was Jamie Herrera Butler.
Absolutely.
And
huge credit to her.
Your votes count.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
absolutely.
What we're talking about. Your votes count.
She was very passionate about it from the start, the onset of this thing. She was a strong voice in the realm of not just, standing up for recreational, but for all facets of fishing and conservation overall. And the return of the salmon is really what her stance is. So kudos to her and all who joined in on those committees to really push it home, have the science and the data to back it up to prove what needs to be done. Now they just need to start working on the avian, the predation on the birds, right? And we'll be moving ahead. All right, ran a little long here. We're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back, Jason Phelps going to join us in studio. If you're a beginner elk caller or just struggling the past couple years, We're going to uncork that with Jason, hopefully. So we're going to walk through, how it is, this progression, and how you learn, and what you should practice, and how, ultimately, how do you know when you're doing it wrong? You may not know what you don't know, right? That's always the key. So we'll have Jason Phelps in studio. We come back after this break right here at Fish on Northwest.
Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the Sound or rivers, or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best price, best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine also carries all the gear that you will need. Everything from auxiliary kicker motors to fishing tackle and bait. Defiance Marine has certified technicians that are top-notch at their job. Some of the best in the Pacific Northwest at evaluating your boat issues and problems. Stop in today or give us a call for all your needs at Defiance Marine.
Hey, welcome back in studio. Dwayne England, Kelly Barnum co-hosting with me tonight and doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Yeah, see, you haven't lost your touch. You're right there.
Still sexy.
Still sexy. With that mullet. Holy smokes. Jason Phelps taking time out of his busy schedule, businessman, family man, hunter extraordinaire, back in studio. You're just a glutton for punishment, my friend.
It's fun.
Okay, well, we'll take that. So thanks for coming by, man. This is always very applicable, whether we're talking turkey or, any facet of hunting that involves a call.
Yeah.
I give you a call. So, hey, let's just start at the very basics and work our way through this progression as the evening goes on. Want to start hunting elk with a bow. Maybe I'm a rifle guy. Maybe I'm just picking up hunting like I did with Barnum a couple years ago and start doing the elk thing. And I stand there and watch him blow on that tube and just go, how in the heck, And it's one thing I do know is that I can listen to different guys bugle for elk, and there are varying differences in how they sound. There's a sequence to the call. Some guys put in a lot of chatter, chuckle, whatever you want to call it. Some guys put in just guttural, deep tone. Some guys are extremely high pitched. How do you find that particular sequence, or how do you know when you're doing it right?
So that's what's kind of awesome about elk calling, and elk in general themselves. They all sound different.
They're all different, right?
You might have a big growler down here and nothing but grunts over there and nothing but a high pitch. So that's a nice thing. Don't get discouraged if you can't sound like me or Dirk Durham or some of these guys that are great callers. I've always said practice on sounding like an elk. Whatever elk you want to kill, try to sound like the real thing. Don't get hung up because, and then you really need to boil down to what works. Like if I use a high-pitched scream and Kelly thinks I suck at elk calling, but yet I kill a bull every year, or vice versa. Kelly's got this big point. Kelly's got this big deep growl. I'm like, well, you suck, you can't hit a high note, but Kelly's killing bulls every year.
Right.
I think people get too hung up on sounding too perfect. Some of the worst sounding elk I've ever killed were real elk.
And you're like, what is it?
I've almost wanted to bail because I'm too proud to get called in or to even hang around and get called in by another hunter. So I'm like, my partner, like, hey, we're jumping off the hill. He's like, no, give us like 2 more seconds. And then all of a sudden the bull comes over the ridge. I'm like, all right, elk aren't the best elk callers, and you don't have to be either. And so what I always tell everybody is don't get so hung up on making the perfect grunts, the perfect chuckles. People try to do all these fancy stuff that some of us do on stage when we're calling competitions. Just do what you need to be confident in what gets a response from elk. A lot of people, you don't have to be that good to call an elk. It's more of timing, getting in close. A lot of people think elk calling is, there's a bull a mile across the canyon. I'm going to sit here, toot on my horn, and that thing's going to work his way down to me. Well, that doesn't work like that in nature. That bull is happy as a clam, sitting over there with his cows, or hanging out over on that ridge where his food's green. He has no reason to come potentially get his butt kicked, or to come kick my butt. Why am I going to get that bull to come a mile across? A lot of people, as much as I'd like to say as an elk call manufacturer, like, heck yeah, you're going to call that thing in with whatever call you use. Use your feet to do 90% of the close-in. we all know archery, you got to get them close. They need to be very, very close, but use your feet to cover a lot of that distance. And then just be confident enough to make a sound. I think that's one of the things, in my opinion, new callers, like, I don't want to screw this up, right? I was squeaky when I was practicing. I don't. I think just be confident enough to get in tight and let your calls do what they're supposed to do.
Let it rip,
Do you let it rip as you close a gap, Barnum? I mean, do you? You're gonna locate on a ridge, and you're like, we're gonna go kill that bull. Next thing I know, we're bailing over this, and we get down in this draw, and we're way down. Now we're a mile from where we were.
I think the important thing that I've always said is you have to sell the story. Like, I am a bull elk, I just threw out a bugle, you responded, now I want to come down and challenge you and try to take your cow. So I have to sell that story. I have to sell that I'm a really ticked off bull elk that wants to take your cow. So I have to make noise, I have to get down there. I'm being loud in my pursuit, I'm breaking branches, I'm kicking logs, I'm rolling rocks if they're there, I'm letting that bull know I'm coming. But I'm not, as long as I know where the bull is pinpointed, I'm staying pretty quiet with the bugle until I get down and I feel like, okay, now I'm in his domain, I'm in his world, now I'm going to let him know I'm here. You heard me coming, but now I'm here and I'm telling you I'm here.
You're not going to scare him away with your call. You're going to scare him away with your wind. Right?
Yes.
So, go ahead.
In my opinion, it's kind of a joke, but I always say once you locate a bull, I think 99% of the hunters would be better off putting some earplugs in and putting some headphones on. That way they don't have any reason to bugle again. Like, I feel so much damage can be done. And I do it too. Like, don't get me wrong, I love to hear myself bugle. I love to hear bulls answer back. But if you can just look at your mapping software, or if where we hunt here more not as mountainous, then elk are down on that bench. I'm not going to make another peep until I get there, because if I bugle halfway, that bull's like, same thing we just talked about. Like, I really don't want to lose my cows to this guy coming down. I'm going to round them up, and I'm going to keep
realistically, in a perfect world for me, if I can do one locate bugle and locate him, and then one bugle when I'm in his zone that closes the deal and he comes in, 2 bugles is what I want. If I have to bugle 100 times, number one, I'm telling everybody who walks into this area or pulls up to the landing or whatever that something's going on down here.
Well, it makes sense. You're like announcing. And then he responds to like, yeah, I hear you. And then you're like,
challenging.
And now you're going to go down there. And all of a sudden you let it rip, and he's like, holy cow, he's here right now. Now it's fight or flight, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So now it's fight or flight, and he's going, I can't get all my cows out of here like right now, so I need to go take this guy on.
I always use the analogy, say you're at a restaurant with your wife. You're sitting in the back corner booth. If some big burly guy walks in the front door and yells at me from the front door, hey, I'm Jason Phelps, I'm going to come kick your butt and take your wife or girlfriend, I'm going to find the back door, go through the chef's. But if that guy doesn't say a word to me
and just walks up,
pounds on my table, I've got one option left. Like, I'm going to be swinging or and that's kind of what I equate to elk hunting. Like, don't give him the flight option. Give him the fight option.
That totally makes sense.
And then the fact of the matter is, people worry about getting close and screwing up. Like, if you drop in there and you rip out a big challenge bugle and he turns and runs, it wasn't his day. That bull wasn't coming today. You didn't do anything wrong. It's just today was the day he went, I'm not doing this today. I'm out of here.
Exactly. And a lot of people get nervous on getting close. And one thing I like to remind people is, if you did your job and got the wind somewhat right, elk are stinky critters. I almost always start to smell these things because I've got the wind right. I don't have to guess so much where they're at anymore, or there's some tracks on the ground like they were here because I heard them here half hour ago. I get here now, I can smell them. Like, all right, they're and so there's some signs that I can use. I don't have to. I think people get really unsure, like, are we in the right spot? Are we close enough to start calling? And so use some of those other.
And that's what I was saying, like, before, Dwayne. Like, sometimes I think you feel like it's gut feelings, but you're actually reading the sign, and that's what's giving you that gut feeling.
Well, and the other takeaway that you pounded into my head 2 years ago, Barnum, is, this isn't deer hunting.
No.
We're not sitting here squeaky quiet.
Nope.
We're not like field mice just waiting for a deer to come by. We are letting them know we're here. We are forcing them to make a decision and challenge them to where they want to challenge back.
Telling that story and making sure that, that story has to have details. It's like we talked before. If somebody comes in and tells you, oh, I caught a 40-pound king yesterday. Oh, where'd you catch it? What was it on? And he can't answer any of those questions. He's lying. And he didn't do it. So when I'm going down on that bull and I'm headed down there and I'm a bull challenging him, it's important that I add those details. The broken sticks, the raking the trees, the kicking the rocks, the stomping the ferns, whatever it takes to sell all the other little details that tells him, this is not a hunter coming. This is the real thing. I need to be ready.
What, when somebody decides they want to start bugling and they're practicing at home, and there's almost as many how-to videos of bugling elk on the interweb as there is calls in your warehouse, right? I mean, everybody's got their how-to video. How do you know if you're watching a good one versus a crappy one? I mean, what should you key in on to sit there and go, I want to sound like that guy, or at least when I'm practicing, I want to start to mimic.
Do they have horns on the wall?
Yeah.
That would be the number one.
It's really just what gets you into sounding like an elk. Like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, like you just ultimately want to sound like an elk, not necessarily your favorite caller.
I'd watch videos of actual elk calling in the wall.
That's what everybody. I get a lot of emails every day. Like, I want to call. I'm like, well, type in on YouTube Estes Park, Colorado, and those elk are just going nuts there in the middle of town. And so you can sit and listen to bull elk bugle all day long.
There you go.
And because I'm not going to lie, no matter how good I think I am at calling, elk amaze me. Like, how the heck do I make that noise?
Yeah.
How do I do that? Like, I can't make that. And so if you can just start to explore some of these things and figure it out, you get to a point, and I'm sure Barnum's there, and you get to a point where you're like, I'm pretty confident I can do 90% of things with the reed, just because you've played with it. You've been able to get there. So as far as trying to learn and figure out what's the right, I really don't think there's anything wrong. Like if you know, Joe Blow over here has a video and it's completely wrong the way that I do it, but he had some tips or tactics that got you. So I would say just be a student of the game and maybe watch multiple videos, and maybe one of mine or Dirk's, you know, something clicks and you're like, I got it now. Versus, you know, you go watch somebody else's and it clicks for you. Like, don't be afraid to go learn from somebody else maybe you don't like or don't know.
That's a good point.
And don't expect to put that reed in your mouth and rip out this bugle. Learn the progression of a bugle and work on individual segments. You know, it's no different than learning how to throw a pitch or swing a baseball bat. You break it down into fundamental steps and learn those fundamentals. And then at the end, you can put it all together.
Lace it all together, and then you got your your presentation.
I just got to go to real quick. I got to go to an elk-shaped camp in Wisconsin a couple weeks ago. Nobody's really hunted elk there, and so you had to break it all the way back down to do not try to put this in and sound like a cow elk. Put this in and try to sound like the high-pitched mosquito, because I need you guys all to get to that like. Before we can start to work on anything else, like I need you to seal the call. And so it just depends on what level you're at. You know, a lot of the guys have never elk called, but they've turkey called. And so it's an easier everybody starts in a different spot. I've had people who've never had a call in their mouth. Within a minute, they sound as good as I do. So it's just everybody's just like, dang, that was 12 years of my life.
No, everybody does. I mean, for sure. I know people that have tried for months and months and can't get it right. And then, like you said, somebody will grab it and in 5 minutes they're going, boom.
How did you do that?
Perfect. All right, well, we got more to tackle next time around. We're going to actually kind of break down that sequence, those types of calls, and how you string them together, and what you should start with, and what this means, and you know, when to use a cow call versus you know, bugling. So we'll jump into all that later on in the show. Jason's not going anywhere. He's on the hook here for a couple hours. So we're going to jump out for a real quick break. We come back and get Captain Keith Robbins on the phone. For all you out there fishing Puget Sound, in some areas it's been a bit of a struggle, but for others it's been quite successful. The fish are really starting to show up in a few of our areas now. And whether you're a troller or a moocher, if you're finding success mooching, great. I'm sure you can still pick up on a few tips from Captain Keith, and if you're struggling with it, he will definitely get you dialed in. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a quick short out, and we'll have Keith Robbins on the phone right here, Fish on Northwest.
Co, an outdoor emporium, is the largest local outfitter in the Northwest since 1975, providing thousands of people affordable outdoor gear. This summer, make your next outdoor adventure more affordable by shopping at our warehouse-style pricing. We are a local Scotty dealer, offering sales, service, and repair. Located in Fife and Seattle, come visit us today. The outdoors await you.
It's easier than ever to browse homes and connect with an agent on the go with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate's mobile app. With the app, your home search is synced across all of your devices, so you can pick up your home search anytime, anywhere. Take full advantage of an enriched, mobile-optimized map search experience. Use location services to quickly find homes near you that match your search criteria. Draw your own map boundaries to find homes in a specific area, and apply layers to view school districts, neighborhoods, zip codes, and more. The app's user-friendly design makes it easier than ever to find a home you'll love. Narrow down your search results, save your search criteria, and save your favorite homes. You can browse your saved homes in a list view that puts photos and key details like price and square footage right at your fingertips. Or check out your saved homes displayed on the map.
Welcome back, Fish on Northwest. Dwayne England, Kelly Barnum, and Jason Phelps, who found out at the break he's stuck here for every segment throughout the show. He's like, fine, I'm not going anywhere. So happy to have him here. He fishes once in a while when he's not building calls or killing animals.
He knows a lot about, I'm sure.
Yeah,
mooching salmon.
We'll just, mooching salmon, right up in your alley, right, Jason? Anyway, I want to introduce everybody to Captain Keith Robbins, a spot-tail salmon guide, Puget Sound, been doing it for a long time. You also got your operation down there in Florida, Keith, that we might have time to get to. But you've been out there for quite some time. You got those nice Grady Whites, open bow walk around boats, and really known for mooching. When's the last time you actually trolled for salmon, if ever?
Oh boy, I trolled for salmon with downriggers one time in my life up in Canada.
Yeah.
Handed off the second biggest fish of my life to the guy I was with, because I'm sorry, I'm a snob. I want to feel the bite.
Yep. I know.
I want to feel the bite. I'm curious, I guess, or just a snob.
Years past talking to you, that is, it's always been your staple. You know, it's like, nope, if I'm going to catch a fish, I'm going to hold that rod and I'm going to feel that fish take that bait that I'm presenting to him. So kudos to you, because as you would agree, more than not, mooching is becoming a lost art. There are a handful of guys that still do it, and credit to them. I haven't done it for a few years for sure, but it sure is a lot of fun. It sure is a great way to introduce people to salmon fishing on Puget Sound, whether it's coho or chinook. Let's talk a little bit about maybe why some folks struggle. They want to mooch. They've been attempting to do it for quite some time. They might periodically run into a fish, but they don't have a high success rate because maybe it's boat control, maybe it's presentation. Let's just kind of walk through the actual presentation of a bait, how you select the area you're fishing, and really how you present it in the correct manner.
Well, I think mooching, just like any other fishing, it's about being at the right place at the right time. And the beautiful thing about us moochers, and I'm sure all the trollers listening have had to drive around us when we've been sitting on top of where the fish are, and that we've gotten in their way. It's for those of us that mooch, we like to think that we fish where the fish are.
Yeah.
So we can drive around, figure out this time of year where the bait is, and get on top of them and work the whole water column. We're not just working one or two levels. We're working the entire water column. Yeah, we might work, a section where the bait is, but when you're mooching, for the most part, we work the whole water column. And when the cohos start showing up, which have been here all summer, the beautiful thing about working the whole water column is we're catching both species right now.
Right.
Fairly regularly. I mean, granted, the kings have been a little bit difficult, but I don't remember the day we didn't get at least a coho while we were mooching for kings. So it's a super effective way to fish. Yes, you need to hold the rod. Yes, you need to work the bait. You need to work the whole water column. And, for those of us that like to mooch, it's all about the bite. It's all about whether they're hitting it on the drop and just dead slacking your line and having to reel it as fast as you can to catch up to the fish, or while you're reeling, having that fish grab your bait, let go, grab your bait, let go, and having the patience to not set the hook until the fish is actually engaged, engulf that bait so you can set the hook.
Right. So let's kind of, for those that don't understand, the reference of fishing the whole water column. So we're dropping bait down, we're cranking bait up. What depth of water are we fishing? How deep are we typically taking that bait? How much weight do I need based on, obviously current is a factor, but and how fast am I descending that bait? How fast am I bringing that bait back up? And how deep am I going?
Well, and that's part of the learning curve. So the weights that I use, it's dictated by your rod. But the weights I use, I typically fish from 2 to 6 ounces. I try desperately not to fish 5 or 6 ounces because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of weight. Takes away from the fight. But certainly when the current and the wind are strong enough, you have to, on my gear, I go up to 6. I determine that by what, you don't want your bait going straight up and straight down. So you need to lighten your weights up to give yourself some line angle. I'm not quite sure what the follow-up question was.
Basically, how deep of water we're targeting we're looking for fish. We find fish. How deep of water are we typically targeting? How deep are we going down, descending our presentation in speed? Speed, how fast do we want that to drop and how fast do we want to crank it up?
This week I've fished as shallow as 50 feet and as deep as 280 feet. And I'm looking for, right now, I'm just looking for piles of bait for the most part. I mean, the beautiful thing about this time of year, you don't have to find the bait to find the fish because we all know where we're fishing, they're all heading south. So we know we're going to get in the way of some fish. Figuring out how to get them to eat has been a little bit of an issue, but it's been a challenging season, and we're trying a lot of different things and having success. Great success 2 or 3 days, and then difficulty for 2 or 3 days. It's been really, really challenging. Whereas last year, the fish were not as big, but they were as consistent as I've ever fished them in all the years I've been fishing the Sound.
Yeah. Right. Let's talk a little bit about rod and reel selection. Somebody wants to get geared up, start doing some mooching or doing more mooching, or, perhaps they do predominantly trolling, but they want to have that mooching rod, couple mooching rods on board so they could pull over and join you in your efforts on the mooching pile. What am I looking for in a rod and reel?
Well, what I fish with my guests are 8.5 foot. I use really great stuff. IMX, Loomis IMX, 1021 Cs, HSR 1021 Cs, 8.5 foot hot chop rods that are super, super sensitive, really great to hold on to all day long. And then I use Shimano Takota 300 LCs. And I'm currently fishing my guests with the previous version. I'm just starting to play around with the new version, which is super light and super nice, but jury's still out on it, but it seems like it's going to be a great reel.
Those have line counters on them? Do you run line counters?
They do. Yeah, that's the LC part of it.
Right. Line counter. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I do things a little differently than some. I fish 15-pound mainline and 25-pound leader. Oh. The 25-pound leader is, and I like to use hard monofilament or stiff, wide diameter, only because you get less twisting. And I use Tampa ball bearing swivels that are connected to a swivel. I like using the kidney shape or banana shape sinkers. Colors are nice, not important, but I kind of vary the rainbow colors on the sinker. And, I would start out with a 5 or 6 foot leader with tandem hooks. Currently I'm fishing a double 3/0 hook. Yeah. Super easy to tie. And you need to know how to tie leaders because this time of year, for about another 3 or 4 weeks, the dogfish are here and you have to deal with them if you're a moocher. And that's why a lot of people avoid mooching, because you have to deal with the dogfish. But what a lot of people don't understand is they migrate out. So starting early to the end of September, the dogfish will go away. Oh. They'll be gone. By the beginning of October, there won't be any.
Gotcha.
Right. Are you plug cutting that bait or leaving it whole or running any hoochies or?
No, I'm just plug cutting a herring.
Okay.
6, 7 inch, 5, 6, 7 inch, green label, primarily red label. This year, maybe some blue label, which is, red is, I don't know if we need to go through all the color scheme of the herring, but green is basically the middle size.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, valid point on the dogfish. I was going to ask you, do you guys contend with those much? Is it just part of the day, another dogfish and reeled up and, change the leader out because it's frayed or whatever? But sounds like it's just something you deal with and willing to deal with because it's part of the Mooching Program.
Yeah, it's something you deal with. And some areas are much worse than others, and sometimes they're much worse than others. It's been for the most part, up until about the last week, it's been a pretty easy dogfish year. Mm-hmm. The last week in a couple of spots, they have shown up in mass, and I've been reluctant to fish it just because it's hard to keep my anglers in the water.
Right.
You get 3 or 4 dogfish at once. It's hard to get everybody with a new leader and re-geared and send them back to work. So sometimes we avoid some places that I'd prefer to fish, but there's too many dogfish. But it hasn't happened much this year.
Right. You had mentioned earlier line angle. Are we looking for about a 45 degree in our line angle? And if current's pushing you too fast and you don't want to increase your weight or make any changes in that regard, using your kicker motor or motor to go against current or back into the current or to hold your position.
You can certainly do that. It's very hard for me to do with 4 anglers, 5 anglers, 6 anglers. I can do it with 2 or 3. I don't own a kicker motor. I used to, but I found that it got used so little that I had more problems with repairing the corrosion because it wasn't getting used.
Right.
And so now for the last I don't know how many years. I guess since 2011, I haven't owned a trolling motor.
Huh.
So we just strictly drift mooch.
Yeah, perfect. Well, sounds like you will definitely still continue to be out there through September and whatnot, especially as those coho start coming into that portion of the sound. Plenty of opportunity. You got enough openings for people to jump on board. www.salmonguide.com if they want to get a hold of you or call you on your phone. What would you prefer?
Oh, text, call, email. I'm available. Text is usually the best.
Sure. Throw out a number for us, Keith.
206-295-7031. And there are plenty of moochers out there, and I actually think the mooching is coming back.
Yeah.
Stronger than it's been. I mean, Justin Wong's out there mooching, doing an amazing job. There's another guy, Dave Godfrey, that's doing a fantastic job. I've got another Captain Yoshi, Sean Bowman, that just landed the biggest fish yesterday. Landed the biggest fish I've had in my boat in 25 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I am looking for another captain. If there's anybody who likes to mooch, and Sean's heading off to school tomorrow.
Okay.
So actually, his last day is tomorrow. So if there's anybody out there who wants to, earn a living or earn part of a living, on Puget Sound, given the problems we're having with the department and with the COVID, it's very challenging in 2020, like everything else.
So, okay, Sean's going to school. You're looking for a captain to sign on for the remainder of this season, then you hope to work them through next season as well. So they can get a hold of you either at your webpage, your Facebook page, or call you direct and see if it doesn't work out for you. Hopefully you can hire somebody you find through the show. That'd be fantastic. So, Keith, can't thank you enough. Appreciate you taking time out. Don't be a stranger. Keith Robbins, everybody, a spot tail salmon guide throughout the Puget Sound. Well known, been doing it forever. And always a pleasure. Good to catch up, Keith. It's been a few years.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. You guys stay well, and we'll see you out in the water.
You got it. Take care. All right.
Thank you.
There you go. Well, it's kind of a dying art, Barnum, but there's, like he said, there is a handful of folks coming back doing it. So
and that's what we talked about before. I think, like when I grew up, like all my dad did was mooch.
Yeah.
Like trolling was like, we ain't doing that.
Right.
And now it's like you never see people mooching.
No.
So it's nice.
Every once in a while,
are still dialing.
There's some areas out there, Puget Sound, you come around the corner, it's like, oh, the moochers are here. It's like a whole flotilla of moochers. So it's a fun way. I did it a couple years ago, even for those resident coho up there in Area 10. We were using 11'3" just noodle rods with knuckle buster reels. And you just free spool that sucker back down, and those and some of them small Chinook at times, they will literally chase that herring to the surface.
Yep.
and then you're sitting there doing the figure 8 like you're, going after muskie or something. But they will literally chase it to the surface and hammer it right on the surface. It's crazy. It's a good way. It's a nice change from just getting out there dredging along the troll.
Yeah. I've toyed with it quite a few times, like looking at salmon like tuna, where I'm going to go on the troll, I'm going to find a couple fish, and I'm just going to shut down and go to mooching.
Right.
And had success that way too.
Yeah. It's a novel alternative. All right. Boy, I don't know what it is with Barnum and Studio, but my segments continue to run lengthy. So. Maybe it's because I talk too much. We'll jump out for a quick break. We come back. We got Jason Phelps back in the hot seat. We're going to talk about this call progression. What you're saying, what the bull's saying, when to use a cow call, when not to, kind of how to string that call together, get a chuckle in there or two, how it all factors in, what exactly we're trying to say. We're going to dial it in right here with Jason Phelps. We come back from this break right here on Fish on Northwest.
A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima boats are manufactured with pride right here in Bremerton, Washington. Arima Boats offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. With literally thousands of Arima boats on the water throughout the Pacific Northwest, Arima boats are a proven hull design that offers incredible fuel economy and all of the amenities that a serious angler is looking for. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Arima boats are designed to maximize deck space while also providing ample seating. Contact us today at Arima Boats for all your boating needs and let us help you get out on the water.
We're back on. Hey, how about that? We're back on. We're sitting here talking, and I'm like, commercial break or whatever, and Josh is running back in here, and I look up, I go, wow, we're back on.
I think my mic's on.
Yeah, I think my mic's on. Okay, all right, we'll talk about that stuff later on. Boy, the phone's blowing up. I got a picture from Tommy and their success today on the water. What do they got? They got 5 halibut. No. 5 halibut. Wow. They got out there and crushed them today. So lots going on, lots of options. He's we'll talk to him later on. He's going to join us and give us an update, but he's on the halibut grounds today. Big Fish Friday tomorrow at the WTC, and then of course the WTC tournament is Saturday, and Tommy's going to be part of that. So yeah, we are waiting to talk to him and figure out what exactly is going on out there in the ocean. And it looks like they had a good day. So switching from halibut back to elk, Mr. Phelps. So I start blowing my elk call, or I listen to an elk go through this, they kind of start out low guttural, it kind of crescendos into this monster's high-pitched squeal, and then they may or may not follow with this chuckle broken up kind of a sporadic, spasmic type of, right? Yeah. And you can watch them. I mean, it's like their whole abdominal cavity and everything is flexing, and it's truly amazing to watch a big bull that's really fired up just bellow out and just get fired up and do his thing. You're like, what is that all about, right? So if you have to start it somewhere, let's break that call down, and maybe I can't string all of that together, but what should I at least go into my first season being able to do? What would give me confidence that maybe I'm going to get an elk to respond?
So for one of the things, I would say just kind of your standard bugle, your full bugle. You don't need to necessarily know how to chuckle. You don't necessarily need to know how to grunt. You don't necessarily need to know how to add that big guttural roll in the beginning. Just get to that high pitch and sound like an elk would be the starting place. That's kind of what I feel the minimum is for going out and making an effective bugle. Because with that, you can now locate a bull halfway decently. As a location bugle, I'd prefer to get that high note and just blast it through a canyon. But if you can make a full bugle, just the high pitch with a little, the normal portion of the bugle, what we call, you're going to be effective. And then you can also use that as your challenge bugle once you get in close. Gotcha. So that's kind of the minimum you need as far as a bugle. We start to add on that guttural roll. We start to add on the rasp that we start to introduce, like our throat and some vocal tones. We add chuckles and grunts. That just kind of adds to the whole realism of it, but it's not necessarily required. And everybody's like, well, why do you try to call so good? Or why do you try to sound like this? And I just feel that the better I can sound and the more realistic I can, maybe the elk know. Maybe it does matter to them. So I'm just trying to be as good as I can. And really, once I'm into a call-in, I typically go to like mimic the bull I'm trying to call in. So if I have the ability or the skill that if he grunts 16 times at the end of his bugle, I can grunt 16 times exactly with his cadence.
Yeah.
You know, if he does his big guttural roll, I can do that with my diaphragm, and I'm just going to match him.
Sure.
So that's one of the things by having the confidence or the skill. One of the tactics that we use a lot is that mimicry, is to go in and be able to copy the bull I'm trying to kill.
What do you think that does to his psyche?
Like I say, I don't know if it's just me. I always try to break it down to an analogy on real life in my situation. You know, I love my kids to death, but they went through the stage of, you know, the copycat. Like I say something, they say something. Well, it's cute 2 times,
and then it gets irritating.
The 4th time I'm asking them, hey, knock it off. And the 7th time I'm trying to find something to throw at the kid. You know, and so it's just that it's. And I know we're going to get into elk language here in a little bit. I agree there's something to elk language, and some guys claim to have it down a lot more than me. I tend to call more, there's a language avenue, and then there's this temperament attitude or alley. And I tend to go down the prescriptive, let's just turn the heat up on this bull and let's do this series of things to get him in. But there are some tactics and some things more of timing and stuff that I pay more attention to.
And I would say you can feel the energy build as you're going down the progression, and that's what you're looking for. If you feel like that energy is building, like you just sense it, you feel it's building, he's getting madder, I'm getting madder, he's getting madder, that's what you want. If you feel like that's going the other direction, then you need to change.
Get closer, change your calls. And so that's, we always refer to it as turning the thermostat on, because Barnum explains it exactly. We've killed a lot of bulls that he's only answering every 10th bugle.
Right.
What? This is
boring.
And then you move in and you do some of the stuff we do, and all right, we're starting to get him. He's starting to not like us as much.
Right.
And you'll feel like, all right, he's bugling every 3rd. And then before you know it, that bull's ripping, screaming, coming, busting.
You've really got him irritated now.
So you've really just kind of changed the whole situation from his demeanor when you started that bugle to when you let your arrow go. He's completely changed his attitude.
Well, like you said, started out kind of a joke, and now Dad's pissed. It's like Dad's mad. Had enough. I don't want to hear it again. I don't want to hear you. I don't even want to see you, but I'm going to come find you and let you know I don't want to see you. So and then I'm going to tell you to go to your room. So
when are you introducing a cow call? Are you introducing that if you hear other cows? Are you introducing that? I mean, is there a time?
I bugle a lot more than I cow call.
Right.
But there are times, so if I'm walking a trail or a fire road or a logging road, if I'm going to walk in, and I can smell elk, or I'm like, there are elk around.
Right.
Maybe I don't want to rip off a bugle for the same reason we talked about earlier. I don't want to scare this thing off if he's right around the corner.
Right.
You know, I'm like, well, which way's the wind blowing? Like, does that matter? Did they cross here? I may cow call a couple times there just to locate with a cow call. We'll cow call through our bugle tubes quite a bit too, just to maybe throw it a little bit is there anything here? You're listening? Because if he responds to that cow call, it's kind of like that don't bugle your way in. I feel like that cow call is less intrusive. It's less of a chance that he may take off. Right. So if I just locate him with a cow call, then I still got some time to get in close.
So when you get in close, because I know me, when I get in close, oh no, I'm still going back to the bugle. So, I just like to bugle. I hate cow calling.
Exactly.
So.
I'm no Picasso, but I do kind of like to paint the scene when I get in. So my cookie cutter, if I could have it this way every time, you locate a bull, you get in close as possible is ideal. I'd love to be able to say I call the bull, but if I can get 80 yards without getting picked off in the vegetation or terrain, I'm going to get as close as I can to these dang things.
Right.
And what I want to do is I will start with an estrus whine, which is more of a sexy, whinier type cow call. It's not just
you got your cow call?
Yeah. So my normal cow call may just be. So that's my normal cow call. But when I get in close, ready to do the setup, I'll give them an estrus whine. And you're going to hear it's going to be more wavy.
I like it when you talk with that in your
it doesn't sound. I'm going to put it in my cheek. So you're going to hear this call kind of goes up and down. You don't hear it a lot, but what I'm trying to paint the pictures is this cow needs some attention from the herd bull.
Gotcha.
But then what I'm going to do right after, as Barnum said, I'm going to challenge bugle right on top. Basically paint the picture that I did this estrus whine, this cow needs attention, but hey, some other bull has now moved in to pay attention to the cow.
Who's going to pay attention,
And at that point, you've kind of taken his flight away unless he's just willing to give up that cow.
And that is the story, right?
Yeah.
That is the story.
That's the picture
right.
I'm painting.
Yeah.
And so that estrus whine call sounds a little bit like this. So it has different stages, it waves up and down. It's not your perfect little mew, but it means something different to the elk. It's got a little more urgency.
Right.
And so I will do that, but with that same exact reed in my mouth, as soon as I'm doing that, I will hammer a challenge bugle. And as Kelly said, ideally, and there's been times it's worked out perfect where I bugled twice. I did that, little sequence, set down my bow, and you can hear them coming. Crash and brush, they're on their way, and that's all
crazy.
And I think it's important, like with the estrus wine, like don't be afraid to. I don't want to say get carried away with it, but get carried away with it. You're a cow. You're in estrus. You need bread.
Right.
You're trying to tell that bull, like, it's time.
Let's
go.
Now's
the time for me to get bread. We need to do this because it's an urgency.
Yeah, and there's a whole different level of estrus buzzing. I've heard it once. Actually, last year in Wyoming, I guess we heard it more than that. But there's, I think Steve Chappell out of Arizona had this great video I remember watching as a kid. This cow estrus buzz. It's I can kind of do it real quick. Really, really sharp. And of course it's Arizona, but then within like a minute she has 3 giant bulls on her.
Yeah.
And so like that cow, whatever, I don't know what she said, but whatever she said makes bulls come to the, her milkshake bring all the bulls.
I was just going to say.
They're all there.
How did I think of that right?
Yeah. So I experienced, maybe not that, but experienced a cow in estrus in the wild, and I torched off a bugle, and she was bedded below me and was obviously in estrus. And the sequence of calling that she did over about a 5-minute period was amazing.
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, she did everything but roll over and like, I mean, it was just whining and whining and whining.
Interesting.
It was unbelievable. Like, it was one of the most amazing things to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, I hunted the Bighorns last year. Amazing elk grounds, amazing, the amount of elk. And I heard sounds there. I'm like, I didn't know how they make that, but that's an elk sound because I'm watching them. But they make some incredible sounds. So I think, don't be afraid to copy the elk that you're hunting, or make the same buzzes or whines or variations.
And it goes back to don't be afraid to use that call in close and make a mistake. Because a mistake doesn't really matter.
Sure.
Like if the bull's getting heated and the energy's coming up, like any sound you make out of that tube is going to be enough.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. Good stuff. All right, we are already up against the break. Believe it or not, these segments go quick.
That was really quick.
No worries. Good stuff. That is, it's just a progression, man, of learning and just putting time in and practicing your calls and understand what they're saying and how they relate and telling the story. So good stuff. We got more to tackle in that regard towards more of the end of the show, but we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. Barnum, I'm going to jump in the old bait lab there and walk through the progression of actually tying that. It's basically our Willapa or Buoy 10, or if we're fishing bait out in the sound, suspended on lead or with a dropper, whatever you want to do. But Buoy 10 is just around the corner. Willapa is going to start firing off. We get a lot of questions on how to protect your gear from all them weeds and that eelgrass and stuff. It can either be a pain all day long, or you can affix a few things on your gear that actually aid you in running your gear more than not. The more you're pulling it out of the water and taking weeds off, the less time you got it, spinning and trying to get on fish. So we're going to walk you through that in the bait lab. We're going to jump out for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in about a minute or so right here, Fish on Northwest.
What if there was a smarter way to search for your new home? Introducing the Better Homes and Gardens real estate website and mobile app. This revolutionary new search tool puts your needs first. Narrow your search to what matters most to your family, like school data, school districts, and even walk scores. Get easy access to your local affiliated agent, as well as unique and local insights about neighborhoods and properties directly within the app. With synced and saved preferences, you'll always pick up wherever you left off. Get your smarter search started today with Better Homes and Gardens Real.
Hey, welcome back to Fish on Northwest. We are here in the bait lab for this week's how-to. Everything you see in the bait lab is presented by Max Lure. Go to www.maxlure.com and find out all the fantastic fishing gear they have for you. And with that, we're going to talk about all this stuff here, all these components and some options you have when rigging up your gear for, this is ideally for Willapa, but it's applicable to Buoy 10, which is, opens up tomorrow. So both those fisheries will be going off here over the next several weeks. And of course, as I mentioned earlier in the show, if you are running bait, if you are dropping bait down and running inline rotators or even flashers, 11-inch flashers behind lead and spreader bars or slider bars, in Puget Sound, you're only fishing down 30, 40 feet with, lead onto your slider. You can use this weed grabber, and it's going to aid you in keeping your gear running more so than not. So what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about this little stick here that we affix on the main line, and this is right on your braid. We put that on there with a size number 3 barrel swivel, and that is typically, I run that a couple feet above my weight slider. Okay, this is that spreader bar in a sliding fashion by YBC. I got my dropper on there that the lead hooks to. And then we go to our jumper piece here, down to our inline flasher, Big Al's Fish Flash by YBC, and then of course our 5.5 foot leader to our mooching rig for our herring. Now, this looks like a lot of stuff to simply go out into the bay or to the ocean or out to Buoy 10 and catch salmon. It's really not that complicated, and we're going to show you how easy it is to rig all this up. So I have my main line here. Again, I'm fishing a 10.5 foot rod. You can get away with 9.5 foot, but I like these 10.5 foot rods rated at a 15 to 30. Some guys will run a 15 to 40. The key is the ounces of weight. You'll find them, they're rated anywhere from 4 to 16 ounces or 8 to 16 ounces. Some of them are rated 4 to 10 ounces. And for Willapa, you can get away with that because we're only going to run either 6 or 8 ounces at the most out there on most tides. We get into Buoy 10, we start running these 16 and 20 ounces, okay? So that takes a little bit bigger, beefier of a rod, but for the most part, in Willapa, we're gonna get by with these smaller leads. So, first thing I'm going to put on is my size 3 swivel, and that's just a simple in one eye, in the other eye, and that just lays on the line just like that, okay? Nothing too fancy about that. We'll put that stick through there later on as we get that completed. So that just slides up the line. And now I'm going to build all the gear in succession. So we have beads in line to protect the slider from going back and forth and beating against the swivels and parts of your components. So first, I want to put on an additional weed guard that I like to run in front of my slider. So I just simply put that little weed guard on. I like to put a bead in front of that or after that in front of the slider bar. And again, this is braid, and the end begins to get frayed, so you need to kind of wet that a little bit and just keep all the strands in tight. So we have our other weed guard and we have our bead that it rests against. Now I'm going to put on the slider bar or the spreader bar, which I like to rig them sliding because if your weight gets tied up in the net and the fish runs, if this is rigged to slide on your main line, it allows the fish to pull the main line through your spreader bar, and it's not affixed so that it's going to actually break off. So, and remember on these, they're tapered, right? They go from big side to little side, and for me to remember, I always know that this is kind of like an arrow pointing, and the pointed end, or the tip of the arrow points towards the bait, okay? On my slider bar or my spreader bar, it always points towards the bait, so that's easy to rig. This backside up your main line towards the pole, and again, we'll take this braid through here, and there we go. Just simply slide that on, no big deal. Then I like to put a couple beads on there because next we're going to tie on our chain swivel, and so I need that to have something to slide against and not come in contact. This really is more so protecting the knot is what we're after here. So a couple beads on here, okay? So now we're just sliding all this up the main line, get it out of the way so that I have plenty of room here to tie my knot. Now I'm just going to take my bead chain, and I got a dual lock on the end of there that we then hook our jumper sling to and or our YBC wire. I'll show you that in a little bit. So now we're just going to tie a simple clinch knot real fast here. Hopefully this goes without fail. A couple times through there. We're going to wrap this 7 times. There's 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Bring this up through here and down through here. Just a simple quick knot right there. Slide that down. Pull it tight again. Don't use your teeth. It is braid. So we want to make sure we get that Nice and secure. Okay, that is a good knot. That's not going anywhere. We're going to cut off a little excess. I like to leave just a little tail on there just to ensure we got nothing to slip through. Okay, so now when all this slides down here, we have basically our spreader bar sliding with that weed stop in front of it, and that is going to hit against those beads, and that is protecting that knot on your bead chain. Now, one thing, the reason I like to use, bead chains and enough swivels within this whole entire thing, as you see us put this together, there's a swivel in every component. This stuff is spinning. You have an inline, the Big Alice Fish Flash from YBC that is rotating. You have herring that is spinning. All this stuff is spinning constantly, and you're on the troll. So the more ability you have for free spin and not getting balled up, the better off you're going to be. So now we talk about jumper sling distance between your spreader bar where your weight is connected, in between your inline rotating flasher. How much distance do I need? We also have a distance of weight hanging down here off our spreader bar that, again, it slides, right? The key here is to have distances that are not going to allow off of your main line going to your rotator and your weight to swing up and get wrapped up into your spreader distance between your weight and your rotator. I typically have always made these heavy gauge lines, 16-inch and 20-inch or 21-inch, okay? So this is 200-pound monofilament crimped onto barrel swivels with dual locks, and I make them specifically for its purpose in each position of function. So the distance between the main line and where the slider, your spreader bar, connects to, the distance between there and my inline rotator is roughly 20 inches, okay? So everything is modular, just all clips on. All right, so now looking at this, okay, if I can get all this squared away, I have 20 inches in between that. Now, on my spreader bar, I clip my 16-inch dropper, and I'm gonna run that off of this corner one here, okay? So that 16-inch dropper then goes to a barrel swivel, and I run this small dual lock on here, and it's never really been a problem, but if in fact you were to get hung up, I have to have a fail point somewhere in here. I'm running 65 pound braid. I have this heavy gauge monofilament just to prevent, line twist because it's much stiffer than just running like a 15-pound dropper. I have that 200-pound jumper going from the end of my main line to my fish flash. And all that's for a reason. It really aids in not allowing stuff to get spun up. So I put this small dual lock on the end of this where I will clip on my, for Willapa, 6 or 8 ounce lead. And if in fact that was to get hung up on something, the weakest point in this entire thing is that small dual lock on the end of that. And that is going to really allow that to break away. And it does. It's, I've bent a few of them out over the years. Very seldom do they get hung up because a lot of the areas you're fishing are more of sand and mud flats, but it can happen. If that does get hooked or hung up, you do want a fail point or a break point at some point. So that's why I put that on there. Then off of your fish flash, you're going to hook your, just basically hook on your 5 or 6 foot mooching rig, okay, your leader. So that's basically all that gear in order and how it runs. Now, what's the key to that barrel swivel up at the top here that freely slides up and down the line? Well, I take these shish kebab basic sticks, these little bamboo sticks. You get them in any store, buy them in packets of like 50, very economical. You cut those into about 2.5 to 3 inch sections, okay? So basically take these sticks and we're cutting those into 2.5 to 3 inch pieces. And now at the top of this swivel, this barrel swivel, you just lay the line down there and we're just gonna run this stick on through here, okay? And we're gonna put it through to about a midway point. And then that's all it is. And because you're running on braid, it doesn't really tear the braid up. It doesn't pinch it. If you were to run this on mono, it would crimp or pinch against your mono. That could be problematic. But on the braid, it just slides through there, and it just rides right there. Now this does slide up and down. If you're bringing a fish in and you butt this up against the tip of your rod and you crank down, it will just basically bump this down to where it'll come all the way down and stop against your spreader bar. No big deal. Typically, I like to run them a couple, 2-3 feet out in front of my spreader bar. So this is going through the water, and believe it or not, that little stick out in front of all this gear back here spinning will grab all that eelgrass and that angel hair and all those different types of weeds and grass. It just loads up on that stick, and the more that loads up, the bigger the ball of weeds gets in front of it, and it keeps building. You'll notice it on your rod as it's in the rod holder and you're on your troll. The rod starts loading up and you can see it starting to get some bend to it. No big deal. You crank it in, you grab all the weeds off of that stick, throw them in the water, and you look at your spreader bar, your rotating fish flash, your herring on your leader or your spinner, and they are 90% weed free. And that's the beauty of it, is that even though the weeds were building up on this stick grabber, the weed grabber, the gear is still spinning and rotating, and you're still fishing, okay? And that's the key, is that you're still fishing. The other thing is, when you bring all this gear in, you don't have a bunch of weeds all over your flasher. You don't have a bunch of weeds all over your herring. And we all know when you start pulling those weeds and eelgrass and stuff off of that herring, oftentimes you start tearing your herring apart. Then you got to replace your bait, so you're more time out of the water and you're wasting time. If you're in Willapa running 3 or 4 rods, it literally is going from one rod to the next rod to the next rod. You reel it in, you clear the weeds off of your weed grabber, you put your gear back out. You go to the next one, you clear the weeds off your weed grabber, you put the gear back out. You're not having to change bait as often. The gear continues to fish even though there's weeds building up on that grabber, and you're going to have more time in the water. It's going to be much more successful. So just some tips and how we rig all this out. If you want, YBC, as Big Jared was in here a few weeks ago, they do have these wires, and they have a 15-inch and a 10-inch, okay? The 15-inch and the 10-inch. You can utilize these in place of building your jumper and your dropper with 150 or 200 pound mono. You can use these wires, which I'm going to definitely use some of these down at Buoy 10 this next week. I'm going to use this as my spreader. I'm going to use the 10-inch as my dropper. Again, it just helps prevent any line twists and all your gear twisting up. And it's a great idea by YBC, and if you haven't picked any of those up, I suggest you do, because it's a no-brainer for me. I've gone to extremely stiff monofilament to prevent line twists, and this is just about as far from line twist as you can get by using straight wire. It's flexible, does bend a little, and but it's durable and strong. It's stainless, it won't rust. It's going to do the job. It's going to do it very well. So again, just kind of a rigging point. Put that little skewer stick, couple 3 inches, 2.5, 3 inches wide in that size 3 barrel swivel, couple 3 feet up your line, main line in front of your whatever type of sliding device you choose to use for your rig, and it's going to grab weeds for you all day long, and it's going to give you a lot less headaches. Okay, we're going to jump out. We come back. Going to be back in studio. I forgot to check what we're doing next, but I think we're talking probably more with Barnum and Jason Phelps. So we'll get to that more in studio with those two when we come back from this break right here at Fish on Northwest. We're back in. We are back in studio, Fish on Northwest, Wayne England, Kelly Barnum, of course, Jason Phelps joining us, and the ever talkative Tuna Talk Tommy Donlin on the phone down there in Westport. Phenomenal day. You know, as soon as I dialed him up, he could not stop bragging about the day he had in the water.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. Hey, I think before I cut you off, you were actually alluding to the fact that the smallest one today, you guys were chasing halibut, right? The smallest one today was what, 30 pounds?
Yep, in that range, absolutely. And then we, our two big boys were in that neighborhood of 60 to 70.
That is fantastic. Yeah. Did you?
Hey, you know what goes really good with halibut steak?
Beer?
Elk backstrap.
Oh.
Elk backstrap.
Backstrap.
I think elk backstrap goes good with with
elk backstrap goes good with everything.
Yes.
If it was elk season, you would have the opportunity today to have gone out and got your halibut and then come back inland and go get your elk this evening, right?
Okay.
But
I know we still need to work out the logistics on that.
Yep. Last week we were talking tuna and elk. That was the key. We're in September. We're still chasing tuna, and we got a chance to go get an elk. So speaking of which, you were spending the weekend in Westport on behalf of all of us here at Fish Hunt Northwest. So we appreciate your effort, by the way.
It's really hard to do.
I know.
It's been tough, and I know Kelly couldn't make it, Mr. Barnum, and so I took a little bit of the Blue Mountain Special Coors and I poured a little bit out this morning.
Oh, good.
Before we headed offshore.
There you go.
I'm actually coming down that way tomorrow. I'm heading out tomorrow to do a little salmon fishing.
Yes, he is.
Bottom fish.
He's taking his crew out fishing, so that's fantastic.
So I might be hitting you up here in a little bit for a pointer on where the salmon are.
Oh, there you go.
Perfect. In the ocean.
Yeah, in the ocean. So you guys got out on the halibut grounds today. You are fishing. The WTC is this weekend, albeit it's kind of, I don't want to say it's under the radar, Tommy, but it's obviously different with COVID. And so we'll jump into that a little bit. Big Fish Friday tomorrow, and then the actual tournament on Saturday. Let's talk a little bit about the halibut day. So we are way late in what would be considered a halibut season. For crying out loud, it's mid-August. You got to go out and fish halibut. The fish are big. Where are you finding them? How deep did you guys have to go out? And was this a hand crank evolution, or were you on the electric reels today?
Yeah. The halibut out of Westport are in the same typical haunts that we would usually find them in. They're near the edge of the canyon structure. Today we were fishing in about 600 to 800 feet of water. So there really wasn't a revelation in terms of location hitting it from Westport. Nia Bay and La Push in that area up north has been kind of a different story. Those fish have been pushed further inshore, so you're getting them in, as opposed to running to the southwest corner or out to the prairie, you're finding those fish anywhere from 100 to 350 feet of water.
Yeah.
But we played the deep game today, and it worked out really well.
What was the presentation of choice? You guys using bait, pipe jigs? What was the drill?
We pulled some tuna bellies out of the freezer, and we soaked them in that Pautzke's halibut nectar.
How about that?
That was the ticket.
I like
without
it.
a doubt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any catch and release on some of them to upgrade and try to get some of them bigger ones, or you guys just take the 5 that you got?
No. We were releasing them and trying to get that better grade.
Nice.
The two larger models actually came back to back, and we had another one on. We have a double rig, like a pipe jig and a big hammer swim bait combo, and we actually had 2 halibut on. Jerry was on for about, a good 10 minutes and not able to move that fish between, I would say that fish was at 57 meters to 60 meters. And the reason that I mentioned meters is because as well as I do, that if you're running an electric reel and it's a Daiwatanicum, you're going to be reading in meters. And so he fought those 2 fish for a while on the double rig, lost one and brought up another one that was in that 40 or, low 40 range. But yeah, no, it was phenomenal. We were, picking through fish to keep the ones that we wanted.
That's awesome. Yeah, great day. Well, let's move forward. Let's talk about the WTC and Big Fish Friday tomorrow. First of all, how many teams have signed up, and kind of paint the picture for us? It's a little different because of COVID, as I mentioned. But what's Big Fish Friday going to be about tomorrow? What's it look like?
Yeah, it's been a challenge for our tournament directors.
Is that an elk call in the background, or is that a dog? What is that?
Seagull, I think. I thought it was a seagull. I was like, bull chuckling?
Yeah, that's a bull chuckle.
Yeah. You hear the chuckles?
Yeah.
Mr. Siegel here.
Yeah.
Now, it's been a struggle for our, the WTC coordinators and organizers with COVID. And it's the things, it's the logistical things like the weigh-in station. The town of Westport's very concerned about COVID, and they're concerned that as soon as you start bringing a whole bunch of tuna up the dock and putting them on the scale, you're going to gather a crowd. And you know what? They're right. That's how it's been in the past. As soon as you start weighing fish, people want to know, who's on the leaderboard, how much do these tuna weigh, and they're just excited to see the fish. And so there's been a lot of hoops that they've had to jump through just to have the tournament. But they could have easily walked away at the beginning of the year and said, hey, we're not going to do it this year. It's too complicated. It's not going to work. But they've continued to focus on the effort because it really goes to benefit our veterans. And they've been working to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 65 veterans here to Westport to get them on, local charter boats, those that volunteer to take vets. And so that's really been their motivation to keep this event going during COVID times, when they very easily could have said, it's just not going to work this year. We're just going to bench the event. Yeah, that's fantastic. So Big Fish Friday be tomorrow, and then the actual tournament on Saturday. Shotgun start and then did you mention how many teams? I might have missed that. No, I didn't. It's going to be I'm waiting for a final confirmation, but I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 total teams this year. Whereas in a regular year, we would see upwards of close to 50 teams at this particular event. Yeah. On the high side, I think we've seen around 70 teams, in the past years. So that kind of gives you an idea of the hit that COVID's taking. And they've had to coordinate with the state and local authorities just to make this event happen. So it's a completely virtual format this year. Right. There's not going to be a banquet. There's not going to be an awards ceremony. There's not going to be a dinner. Everything's going to be streamed live on Facebook. So it's going to be a completely different format than what we're used to seeing because of the times that we're in. Is there an online auction for raising funds for this event? Not this year, I don't believe. Okay. Not this year. I thought maybe there'd be, they obviously have the raffle or the auction or whatever they tend to do to, build even more prizes and awards and opportunity for people to, give money towards the event. So didn't know if they were doing an online deal or not. I hadn't read up on everything, so I figured I'd ask. All right, well, you got a pretty solid team going into this thing Saturday. What's your thoughts? Honestly, I'm just glad to be fishing. I mean, with my foot situation that I've been struggling with the past weeks. And hey, Kelly, by the way, I've got the boot here. There's a little bit of halibut and black cod and some rockfish blood on it. Right. But I've got it ready for you to take into the woods so that you can rake trees and get those bulls fired up. Yeah, there you go. So perfect. It's ready for you. Yeah. Yeah, you were actually fishing with the boot on today and punching halibut. That was quite the video. So yeah. Well, at least you got the opportunity to get out on the tuna grounds on Saturday. And what are the reports telling you? How far out are you guys going to have to go? Any idea? The tuna have been down recently. It hasn't been on fire. We've had the last week we've had a lot of wind, and it's churned that surface layer of water over, and so those tuna just typically they're not where they typically are. Right. So tomorrow is going to be kind of a search and go see type trip to go find them, and then the tournament will be Saturday. And, luckily I get to ride in a little bit of comfort and style with the 35-foot Carolina Classic. So I won't be slumming it too bad. I know you're concerned about my health and welfare. I always am. I always am. I think I'm going to be okay this time. I mean, you couldn't walk across your yard without breaking your foot. So, I do. Yeah, right. I do care about your welfare, everybody. Yeah. So, anyhow. Well, you know what? Congrats on today, man. That is fantastic. I'd lie if I wasn't just, a little jealous. On those nice big halibut. Not sure if I'm going to have a halibut day in the near future or not, but we get your foot healed up, and we'll try to see if we can get on that 29-foot Guadalupe before the season ends and make a few tuna runs with this team here. So
That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right,
I concur.
Well, your duties are done. Go crack a beer, enjoy, get the pain level down on the foot, elevate in ice, and get ready for a bloodbath tomorrow, and hopefully you find that big fish.
Amen. You guys have a great evening.
All right, buddy.
Yeah.
You got it. Talk to you soon. All right. Tommy Donlin out killing more fish out of God's ocean. So that's what he does. All right. So if you're interested in following what's going on with the WTC, get online and just kind of track what's happening. Tomorrow is Big Fish Friday. They'll post the results as to what is happening, and of course they'll get the entire team or the teams out there on Saturday. Going to be quite a bit different, but they'll do the best they can. This whole COVID thing, it's hit not just the WTC but the OTC. The losers on that whole deal are those that reap the rewards of the amount of tuna that is brought in, canned up and distributed to the food banks, and all the money that comes in distributed to the food banks, and to help the veterans and all those great causes that those tournaments really come together for. So there's a lot of folks and organizations taking a hit throughout this time of year, with these tournaments being just a mere shadow of what they normally are. So unfortunately for that, but at least they're doing the very best they can with what they can and can't do under their current governor's mandates. So. Anyhow, we won't go down that rabbit hole. All right, we're going to jump out for a quick break. Jason, guess what?
What's that?
When we come back from break, we're going to talk more fishing. We got more elk and stuff to talk with you and Barnum as we close out the show. But Buoy 10 opener is tomorrow, August 14th. Who would have ever thought that would actually happen, where we say Buoy 10 opener on August 14th, Barnum?
Right.
But we do have a quota to go after. The ocean conditions have been favorable. The Chinook that have been caught out there, like Westport and whatnot, healthy big fish, right? And for those that have turned the corner up south, or up north, moving south throughout Puget Sound, healthy big fish. So gonna see what Bill Monroe Jr. knows, what he's got on his radar and his sight set. Gonna help you get a little bit dialed in. We'll talk a little bit about the importance of understanding the tides, where to be and when. All those key points when you try to put it all together when you're talking an area 4 miles wide and 15 miles long up and down the river. It's a huge area. 4,000 to 5,000 of your closest friends will be out there in boats bobbing around with you on the troll, and it's a heck of a good time. So don't go anywhere. We come back. Bill Monroe Jr. is going to get you dialed in on your Buoy 10 fishery right after this break here on Fish on Northwest.
The break of night, the pink skies waving goodbye.
Okay, welcome back, Fish on Northwest in studio here, Dwayne England, Kelly Barnum, of course, Jason Phelps, world-renowned salmon slayer in his own right. And he calls them to the boat like nobody else, right?
Yeah, what exactly do you blow into that tube to get salmon?
That's just the bonkum.
Oh, that's the bonkum.
That's the bonkum, perfect. Bill Monroe Jr. joining us on the phone once again. Not a stranger to the show, however, a stranger to the studio, unfortunately.
I know, right?
Yeah, let's get that figured out, buddy. So,
well,
yeah. So you are ready to go, man. It is Buoy 10 Eve, and tomorrow morning is Christmas, and you are out there on the water. So, what do you know? Let's start with the ocean reports and how the ocean fishery has gone thus far, in giving you any indication of what you might anticipate with Buoy 10.
So that's a great place to start. By the way, hi guys.
Oh, hey. Sorry, we're just delving right into it. So
don't worry about this. Let's just do this. I love it. The ocean. The ocean opened up basically kind of the last week of June. North of Falcon gave that ocean fishery kind of some early time and let that, well, hopefully it was supposed to go until a certain allocation was met, and that was about 14,000 coho and about 6,000 Chinook. The Chinook didn't even come close to getting met, but the ocean outperformed itself like way more than the 10-year average for the time frame, and it got shut down July 26th. Yeah. So that was barely a month. And for the ocean to perform like that, for those type of allocation numbers, granted they were a little smaller than every other year, but that's because North of Falcon absolutely sucks. That's a whole nother. We're
gonna have to bring you in studio for that topic.
That might be in studio.
That's an in studio one right there, because that's a full on hour of Bill just going off. Love it.
So for what that really tells us, at least this is how we've always kind of looked at it, is that with the ocean performing that good, we have something to keep our fingers crossed that the in-river fisheries are actually going to be somewhat okay.
Yeah. Right.
And another thing to kind of back this up on the Chinook side of things, of course, we always worry about the Chinook side and not the coho side, because coho is like, oh, man, we got this. And sure enough, the coho was good out in the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Well, on the Chinook side of things, we see our Columbia-based summer Chinook fishery, and it was, it was a really iffy forecast back in spring, looking ahead to summer and seeing, man, we're going to have no summer Chinook fishery. There's not that many coming back. And then the late springers and the summer Chinook actually the forecast got doubled.
Yes.
And we saw time on the water, and the Columbia actually opened up for a sport fishery for summer Chinook, and that is what is also kind of making us feel pretty darn good about the fall Chinook.
Right.
Upriver Bright. I really think, cross my fingers, I really think that we have a really good 2 weeks coming up here.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that summer opportunity was a surprise to everyone. I think we went from 138,000 to 200 and I forget what it was. 138,000, 106. Whatever the summer Chinook update was. I should probably not even spill out numbers because I can't remember. So I thought I had it.
Spring Chinook alone, those Springer numbers went from like the 130s up to about 260. That was great.
Yeah.
But the summer Chinook base is what we look at for those summer fish that lead into fall.
Right.
And they went from like a 37,000 initial forecast, and then they got doubled almost right up to 70,000. And when those summer Chinook, you see those kind of numbers, that's, our 10-year high is 90,000 for a summer-based Chinook fishery.
All right.
So when we start seeing that, and we got mark rates up in the 60 percentile, I mean, that's comfortable. It's great. But I'd like to see that continue on into this fall Chinook fishery, and I really got my fingers. Another kind of cool thing, the southern waters off the Oregon coast was like a phenomenal Chinook fishery, basically from Newport south all the way out to those southern waters and Brookings and some of those California waters for the Sacramento fish. That was a really good fishery, and that was still going on. And hopefully those fish are also some of the Columbia fish that circle around out there and will come up and filter into the Astoria zone. That'll be nice.
So we anticipate we're going to have the fish, and just as luck would have it, pretty favorable tide going into tomorrow morning. Kind of a soft tide, isn't it, if I remember right? And we got an incoming till about
it's 11. Kind of right in the middle. Yeah,
or so?
Kind of right in the middle. It's a middle tide.
Okay.
But you have an incoming tide basically from sun up all the way until lunchtime.
Yeah.
We got almost till about 11:15.
Right.
And that looks pretty darn good. Now, the one thing that is kind of making me, and of course I've talked to everybody already because I spent the whole day, I took the day off and prepped everything. It was really great. The whole thing that's like concerning though is like with this kind of a middle tide and incoming all morning, I naturally want to go sit out at the buoy, right? Because I want to just hit that flood and hope that something's going to just hit my suspended gear.
Right.
But this is the middle of August. This isn't like our traditional August 1st, you know, hey, we need to go kind of test the waters of what was going on. We know that if the fish are here, which we think they are, that, you know, you naturally would want to start at like checkerboard and work your way up the Washington Sands or work your way from the bridge all the way up to Shipwreck, all the way up into the top of Blind Slough. It's like, what do we do here? We have like a 50-50 on our hands. And it's really, I think tomorrow is going to be based off of what kind of fishing you love to do. If you don't like to be out at the buoy and mess with what I call the PC term is crap show. But if you don't want to do that, you get your butt above the bridge and enjoy that, you know?
That would probably be my go-to just because I have a lot of confidence up there, indoor from checkerboard on up. But I do like that above the bridge fishery, working on up into the fingers, high into that Washington side. That's always been a favorite of mine. And it can definitely be fishy. And you are going to be there with a number of your friends. But I guess we'll see how that performs. And then, of course, when I call you Saturday evening to say, hey, where should I start out Sunday morning, you're going to let me know. But
dude, I'm going to tell you the 100% truth. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I can rely on you. I love it.
I promise.
I know. From one EMS provider to another. Well, you know, one thing for certain, going into the first 3-4 days, we have pretty similar same tide structure with these, you know, mediocre tides, not huge water moving. And then, of course, it's an incoming until noon and then 11 and then noon and then 1 o'clock and then 2 o'clock by Monday. You know, it just kind of repeats itself. You'll start your morning off at daylight into the first couple hours after a few days, obviously, fishing that final hour of the algo or, you know, hit that low slack for just a little bit. Then we get water change. But, you know, kind of the patterns that you establish those first couple of days, you should be able to rinse and repeat for a few days in a row. And right? And if the fish are there,
that gives you, in theory, that gives you enough time to kind of put a couple of hours in each little area, perhaps, maybe if you're into that, and then figure it out. Oh, that was better here, or that was better above the bridge, or maybe I need to kind of do that again if those fish are going to hold, which, you know, typically the fall water, wherever you kind of find the fish, they're going to hold in that little area maybe an hour different every day, but they're going to generally, like the top of Blind Slough, the fish are going to hold in that area because they're not ready to get their butts up that warm Columbia water.
Right.
They're just not. They're not ready to go above the dam. They're holding down here because they want to eat. And this is their natural instinct once they came in from out of the ocean, and the anchovy schools or the herring schools are here in the bay.
Right.
So,
any whales in the bay yet?
You know, we today we've had some pretty good reports while jetty fishing. You know, that's what we've been doing for 2 weeks because we've kind of been forced to do that, and we're still making it actually work. It's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, incredible.
It's great. Yeah, but there were some gray whales hitting the South Jetty against the sunken part of the South Jetty off on the tips. The anchovy schools were jumping like crazy. The whales were, there was like 3 or 4 of them working that area. It was really cool to watch for the guys who told me about it.
Yeah, a lot of bait in river. We've seen a lot of anchovy and herring schools flushing up in. Yep.
Okay. That's how, I mean, of course we get reports from our bait guy. The one sole provider for the entire estuary. He has the license, the single license to gather the anchovies for all tuna and salmon fishermen. But he's saying his best opportunities have been inside the bay for his needs, and that's a good sign. Yeah, that's what we want.
So are you spinning all herring, all anchovies, all spinners? What do you? What's going to be your pro? Oh, and are you going to run anything other than the Bill Monroe Big Al's Fish Lunch.
You know that the B&K, the red is dead mantra is going to be on the boat tomorrow.
And it's the school theory, right? It's like all fish of likeness run together. You don't have a pink fish and a purple fish and a green fish and an orange fish. Yeah. Everything is the same. So that's your theory.
That's right.
Yeah.
That'll be enough to not really scare the crap out of them and give them, kind of a sense of a wherewithal to get the hell out of there.
Right.
I want them to actually be like comfortable with what they see and be like, oh, everything is like that. Well, I'm going to hit that.
Yeah.
That's I've always kind of, and it works. It really works.
Sounds like you just walked into a bar.
Someday it's orange, someday it's green. Right. It's that theory,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So what are we dragging on the hooks? What's your preference, or do you split it up when you first start out to figure out what they want?
Well, exactly. I'm doing half and half tomorrow. Okay. It's going to be half anchovies, half herring.
Yep.
I am doing all bait, though, to start off for this because it's still middle of August.
Yeah.
I do hardware, but I kind of wait. There's a bunch of guys who use hardware like August 1st.
Right.
But I like that water to warm up a little bit more.
Right.
But then again, we were using hardware for summer Chinook up in the above, Wana.
Yeah.
All the way up above Longview, we're still using hardware, and it was working. So, I don't know. But this is the estuary. It's the natural presentation. I don't know. I'm still getting... You got to remember, too, here's another thing. The ocean upwelling last week that came into our zone hit 49-degree water.
Oh, wow.
That's really cold.
Yeah.
And it also pushed the tuna off to 80, and some of the commercial boys were saying 110 to 150 miles offshore because the upwelling was so strong. So we got cold water, and that makes me want to go to bait.
Yeah.
Automatically.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And the nice thing about that colder water is, your bait just flat out lasts longer in the water. That warm water is hard on bait, right? It
doesn't sit there and blow it out all day long.
Right. All right.
Yep.
Well, you're going to be after it tomorrow. I can't wait to see the photos blow up on social media, and
it's going to be great.
Pretty sure your phone's going to be ringing, and it's going to be my number on the other end. So
that's okay with me.
Check it in with
all right.
We're going to dinner Sunday night with Sean. So
I think so.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Looking forward to getting down there. Looking forward to seeing you guys.
I am too.
And we're going to have fun. So good luck to you tomorrow.
I think, Go
ahead.
What was that? I lost you.
No, go ahead. You there?
I think one thing I'm kind of like trying to make sure everybody knows is, social distancing, we all got to keep that together. It's important. Masks, if you need it, comfort on boats, it's important. But the positivity side of it and trying to make lemonade out of lemons, that's all we have this year. So it's really important to keep that kind of positive attitude out there, because it's going to go from no boat to about 4,000.
Yeah.
And it is going to happen. Tomorrow, this town literally loaded up in the last 2 days. And while I absolutely love seeing it, it's got some of the locals, they're a little kind of cautious, which is fine.
Sure. Yeah.
We need to be cautious with everything. But I don't want everybody getting ultra frustrated out there. That's the whole point. It's just smile. And we're going to catch fish. This is our
release and our relief from all the negative news media and all the crap going on up north of us and all the stuff happening with this COVID and all the depression happening. And this is where people need to go, just to uncork, relax, get back to your camp in the evening, tip a little whiskey, have a beer, enjoy with some friends and family, get out in the sunshine, enjoy the weather.
Whatever it may be, exactly.
Yep.
And keep in the back of your head.
Right. Yep. And remember, if the outdoor activity such as riding doesn't spread COVID, neither does fishing. So we're going to be just fine moving forward. Yeah. All right, buddy. Always a pleasure.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. We'll talk soon. Thanks.
Yeah, you got it. Have a great evening. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
That guy doesn't love what he does.
Who, Bill? So his he guides a ton. He spends a lot of time on the water, but he also works a full-time job helping him and the wife raising small kids. He drives an ambulance for an ambulance company down there out of Oregon. So we've had some great discussions based on what's going on up here in Washington State, more north of us. That stuff happening up there doesn't really affect us down here to a point, but he's down there out of Portland. He's just embarrassed with what's going on. He's like, this is not how I grew up. This is not what we're all accustomed to. So again, that is why, if nothing else, looking forward to getting out fishing with all these opportunities coming up. Barnum, you're going to hit the ocean tomorrow. We talked about Willapa Bay is going to start taking off. Buoy 10 is going to be firing off. Puget Sound is still an opportunity. Summer Run Steelhead. I mean, we have options. And we have bear hunting, and we have getting ready for elk, Jason, and not too far down the road we're going to be chasing deer, and there's just good stuff to get out and do, and that's what you need to focus on. That's where your energies need to go, and just try to just clear your head of all this crap. So, all right, we're going to jump out. We come back. We are going to talk some hunting, okay? We're gonna keep it back in your wheelhouse, make you feel part of the crew here, and just not challenge you with shiny silver things, right?
I love eating fish; they're awesome.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic.
Just need somebody else to catch them for me.
Fish for fish.
I bet we get them out bow hunting for carp. That'd be all right. We need to do that. So, all right, we're going to jump out for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Come back. We got Jason Phelps to help close out the show right here, Fish on Northwest. Welcome back, Fish on Northwest. We are winding it down. One segment to go, and you made it the whole entire time.
You didn't even fall asleep.
I didn't take off.
Well, all this fishing talk didn't bore you, and you still got a smile on your face.
Just made me hungry.
Attaboy. Yeah. Well, we got leftovers. Shing will take care of you before you go. You know that.
Right.
She always, Grammy Shing takes care of everybody. So when we got this whole thing going tonight, we started talking about different hunts and opportunities and options and whatnot, and your dance card is full, man. You have some opportunities. Let's walk through the progression. You're starting in September. Where and how far through into how late is your hunting season into this year?
So this year, usually I don't tell anybody, but I love rifle mule deer hunting in November almost as much as archery elk hunting. There's something about taking a gun out, running mule deer. But this year I stacked. There's no deer hunts on the docket at all. It's all archery elk or elk. And
no deer this year?
Not a deer.
None.
My wife has a Colorado deer tag, so I will be guide, camp chef,
Sherpa,
extraordinaire, Sherpa, side-by-side driver, gun dialer. So this year's all elk, and so we're going to start in Colorado. Giannis Patelis off the Meat Eater crew. I'm hunting in Colorado with him.
Are you really?
They came to us with. They want to do an educational segment on elk calling. So
perfect.
They're running their YouTube channel separate from Renella's stuff on Meat Eater on Netflix. So they're doing the offshoot. So I'm going to hunt with Giannis in Colorado.
Nice.
And then I've got a short little opportunity there to call for my good buddy Aaron Snyder, the owner of Kafaro Packs. So if I can make that work and I'm done with my Meat Eater hunt, I will go hunt with Aaron or just call for him.
Gotcha.
Directly after that, I have New Mexico tags with Dirk Durham, who most people, great elk caller, one of the best elk callers I've probably ever heard.
Right.
And then my marketing and graphics guy, John Gabriel, have a New Mexico elk tag. So we'll go down there from the 15th to the 24th.
Okay.
Good buddy Tyson and Daniel from local guys, my hunting buddies. They were kind enough, because I drew Wyoming last year. They let me jump in on their points. And they were both ready to draw this year, and I'm like, wait, guys, don't apply yet.
Right.
I think if I do some math here real quick, we can all get in. So they were kind enough to take a little bit more of a risk and let me jump in. So I've actually got a Wyoming tag again, back to back. So then I'll finish out September. Nice thing is the unit we drew September 31st, October 1st turns right into a rifle tag.
Oh, wow. Right.
So I'm going to kind of cover both. we'll hunt archery 5 days, and then that elk that's just kicking my butt for 5 days in a row. I'm gonna be like surprised on October 1st. Like, the rules of engagement have changed.
Yes, I'm not gonna sling lead your way, right? Yeah.
So that rounds out about 30-35 days of hunting elk during the rut, what I love to do.
That is crazy.
Now, a lot of the stuff that you're doing, is it going to be filmed going back on YouTube this year later on in the year?
Some way or another, like the meat eater stuff, they'll have control of that.
Right.
New Mexico will have control. Loophole and Benchmade Knives have teamed up to film that as one of their projects. So
real good.
It's kind of nice. I don't have to control the camera guy.
Yeah.
I don't have to
You just get to show up and be a part
really
of it.
all I have to do in September is film the Wyoming.
You're what we refer to as the talent.
Yeah.
You're just legitimate talent now, right?
That is a far stretch and a reach.
Are any of those projects for a film project or anything moving towards, like, last year you did a great premiere at the Sportsman Show?
Loophole, right? So I think Loophole Benchmade have their eyes on promotional stuff like that.
Cool.
I really don't know where this stuff ends up. You just go out, film it, you end up with days and days and days of SD cards, and then you kind of, as these shows approach, you start talking with the companies you work with, like, hey, we'd love to use it here or there, and then it's a mad dash to get somebody to edit it or myself to edit it in time. So that rounds out my September, and then I will get home and get to reload, because I've got a coveted oil tag here in the state of Washington. I was fortunate enough to draw a mountain goat tag here. So I think Western Washington, why I'm not going to complain, trust me, this is not a complaint, it adds a lot of difficulty to...
Write that down, complaint department.
It adds a lot of difficulty to hunting mountain goats, because you're dealing with very wet Western Washington climate, but you have to wait long enough for the goat to grow their longer hair.
Right.
So it's this balance of, I don't want to weather myself out, and I don't want to. So we've all decided that October 10th is like the coat's good enough day, and hopefully the weather's good enough to quickly get it done.
October 10th.
Yeah,
the coat is on.
The coat's good. I mean, the Mount Baker goats have good enough coats because we're in a pretty moderate climate. It's not like the Colorado goats that are a woolly mammoth during the winter, and then they look like they've got a shaved haircut in the summer. They've got pretty good coats year round, but you want to let those things get full up, and I don't want. The mount is not the only reason we're doing it, but it's if I kill the goat in September, I kill the goat in October, it's dead regardless, and I'd rather have that full coat.
Right. Sure. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime tag.
Right. How many of those they put out a year?
Give out 3 in the unit. So I actually, sheep has always kind of been my dream hunt. And I'm like, dang, this state gives out like 80 odd sheep tags. They give out 240 some odd moose tags. There's 10 goat tags given out in this whole state.
Right.
So it's pretty coveted tag.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to draw what many consider to be the best unit in the state. So
go figure. Well, you're Jason Phelps. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's almost like there's people in the PR department. So I need to talk to Tom Ryle.
I'm actually so thankful because I've got to be one of the witnesses at the draw every year. Well, this year due to the COVID mess, I didn't get to go, and I'm actually kind of glad that I just got to look on the internet or log in and look on my own. I wasn't in the room and all that.
Dropping extra ones.
Yeah. Interesting. Sounds like you had a busy hunting season falling into winter.
Right.
When are you going to fish? When's your fishing time? I mean, it's crazy.
I fish summer.
Balance,
I fish the high mountain lakes in the summer, for like Eastern Brook and some cut.
You ever caught a salmon?
Yeah, we've caught. So I used to fish a little pot.
He's a PO boy.
I know.
But as things have, there was a day where my head wasn't on straight, and I would take September elk hunting days to go fish.
Right.
When the elk hunting wasn't slow, or wasn't fast. And now I'm like, that was the stupidest thing. No.
Yeah.
I like fishing, I just don't have a whole lot of time. And,
that time of year, man, that's your livelihood. It's not just a hobby, right? Yeah. So there's a difference here. It's like, Barnum will fit his elk hunting in between work and just trying to get it done. And usually he finds a way, right? Yeah. And for a lot of guys, where Kelly is fortunate where he lives and he keeps track of what's going on in and around him, and he's he'll take a couple hours drive up into the hills and get out of the truck and go see if he can't locate some elk that evening or whatever after full day work. A lot of guys are I got to take 2 full weeks off of work and go put in elk camp, and we got to go do the deal, and this is my time frame to get it done. It's still a hobby, it's a passion. You live and breathe it, but it's also your livelihood.
It is, and if anybody ever talks to my wife, this is work. This is not a vacation
I get it.
for me. It's stressful. I don't get to relax at all.
No, it's full on work.
It's kind of the crazy world, and that was 10 years ago. I'm like, how do these guys on Facebook get the hunt this much. And that was one of the things I'm like, it all makes sense now. Like this, it's part of, I have to do it. And
the world is social media now, and it's marketing, and you have to have your face and your brand.
And then I really try to differentiate myself from thinking that way. Like, I still want to be like, hunting was about when Grandpa would fill up that Coleman thermos and he'd have it. Like, I still want it to be that. Sure. I don't want it to be this big commercialized. Right. And I was actually talking to a buddy the other day, like, hey, I'd love to elk hunt with you. And I'm like, man, it sucks that I can't say, let's go next year, because I've got so many commercial projects or these boxes I've got to check. And so I try to keep
it'll all come back around for you when your kids get old enough and they start getting on. Then you have to start making priorities. So it'll slow you back down.
That's one of the things I really don't want to lose that touch of the reason my family hunted together and why we did it, and in the camps we
get so far detached from that. That just becomes all commercialized and no personal time with friends and family. It's trying to find balance in all of this. Working full time, trying to do this show, and trying to get out a couple times a week to create out in the field content, whether it's fishing or as we roll into hunting season or whatever. Because these folks watching and those still sticking around here tonight to watch, this is great. But if they have to tune in every week and all they ever see is us in studio talking about it, it only goes so far. You got to go out and have field application, right? And utilize the things that you believe in and what you talk about, and getting educated on all this stuff, and game management, and are we not losing access, and although that whole side of it is one thing, truly being passionate about it is another. Helping educate people to draw more persons into what it is we're passionate about is a huge component of this. And so by doing it and helping produce the content you produce, not just in the product you produce, but the production of what it is you're putting out there, that is so key in drawing more persons into this hunting passion that we all have, right? So
our retainment kind of sucks. I mean, there's this group of hunters that have seen the heydays and they're tired of it. And so like if you're losing that many people, how are you going to recruit the replacements? And so that's, I don't want to be cliche or say that's why we do it, but it is it's important to me that because it's like you said, we've talked about politics a little bit. It's the way you vote. It's making sure that there's a big enough voice that when things come up to be an issue that we can have enough voices that
everybody comes together.
I've said that for years. One of the most important things you can do as a hunter throughout your lifetime of hunting is create more hunters. Because you're going to drop off. Sooner or later you're not going to hunt anymore, and it's important that somebody takes your place, and hopefully more than just one person takes your place.
And like my dad's uncles, grandpas, like they probably hate what I do. We were so secretive, and like you don't want any more hunters. And now I'm to the point like we're in a bad spot, kind of. And so I'm not even willing, or I'm not just looking at the typical hunter family. Like, hey, there's this segment over here that's all about organic meat. They're a little bit hippie-ish or whatever, but like, hey, they can be a voice for us, and they can speak out, and so let's go after something. So it's important to me that my grandkids and my grandkids' kids can hopefully get to do the same things that we get to do.
Absolutely. Well, you're killing it, and you got a tremendous following, and you've done so well. Glad to get to know you. Glad to be able to call on you and have you pop back in studio. Appreciate you taking the time and putting in the effort, because let's face it, you are one busy guy. So it was fun. Thanks for stopping by, and good luck on your hunts. Can't wait to see the videos that come out of it, and what the future holds for Jason Phelps. So all right, Barnum, gonna do it. You're off the hook, man.
Off the hook.
2 hours.
Huh? I'm going fishing.
Yeah, I get to go to work tomorrow, so I'll be curious to see how you do. I'm sure you're going to find something out there. It's a big ocean out there, Barnum. I don't know if anybody told you that.
It's a big ocean, and Tommy wasn't very helpful at all.
No.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Tommy.
Tommy, he dialed it in for you.
I remember that.
You're going to be on the ocean. Top of the cliffs or canyons or something.
Hey, when he says Barnum, where are the elk?
Exactly. In the woods.
In the woods. Go find them. All right, that's going to do it for us here this week on Fish on Northwest. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Make sure you join us throughout the week on our social media, whether it be Instagram, especially on Facebook. We put up a lot of content throughout the week, keep you interactive and involved, keep you educated as to all the things going on, like the culling of sea lions coming up. It's kind of an interesting concept that we never thought we'd see. So stay tuned throughout the week. Post your pictures of successes. Ask us your questions, if you would, via Messenger, or just post them on our Facebook page. We appreciate all of that. Spread our content, and we got a couple contests coming up. I got some fishing rods to give away, and I have some YBC gear that I've been talking about for Buoy 10 and beyond to give away by next week. So be looking for contests that will be posted up on our Facebook page. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week right here Thursday night, 6 p.m., Fish on Northwest.